Hi, welcome to Early Talk with Rizzo Denise. I'm your host, and today we have so much to cover related to everything that's been going on here in America and around the world. We're going to be discussing cases that have not been solved yet, including Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd. In Breonna's case, the superstar Beyonce has also written an open letter to the district attorney regarding Breonna's case. And lastly, we're going to be talking about bills that have been passed regarding the transgender community, all on today's episode of Early Talk with Rizzo Denise. In the past couple of weeks, I've witnessed actions from cops, protesters, and looters. From the protesters, I've seen a positive impact at hand, where they would protest peacefully, and the so-called protesters who have been portraying a peaceful protest, but at the end of the day, they've been looting and breaking into buildings and doing fraudulent marches. I've seen cops run over people, and I've seen people run over cops. I've seen people get trampled by other people. And the usual, cops shooting, tasing, and hitting other individuals with pellet guns. Now, if your goal for this whole march is to protest peacefully and march and get the message across about what's been happening, you've done your job. Now what's next? Now, if you're a looter and you've been breaking into buildings, stealing, and destroying property, you've done your job. Now, what's next? Now, for the people who have been wanting to go hand in hand with the cops and fighting physically with them, you're failing. Because I'm thinking, if I wanted to go to war with somebody and I had no gun, no armor, and they do, plus ammunition, you're just going to be target practice. You are still becoming target practice. What is your strategy? What is your goal? You have to have a solution at the end of the day. And we have to stand up and come together as a black community for our freedom at the end. I'm not going to tell you to stop breaking into commercial buildings and looting, because that's what happens after centuries of the world not hearing the abuse and our outcries. But I will say there has to be a solution to these problems at hand. So what is going to be your solution? What are you solving? And what's next? If you would like to be a guest on Early Talk with Rizzo Denise, hit us up.
$50% off.
Oh my god.
Yeah, 50% off. Off everything? Off everything. Off everything? Yeah. The Mon Ben Beauty Supplies and Accessory Store got 50% off everything, which means you can buy something nice for your girl.
Oh my god.
Tell your sister to tell her friends to save on everything. Mon Ben Beauty Supplies and Accessories, 211 Broadway, Amityville, New York, 11701.
Hey everybody, this is Rizzo Denise. Be sure to go on to Amazon.com and get your copy of Wrath of a Scorn Past. See you there. Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend were at home in their own bed at 1 a.m. Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend Kenneth Walker were in their home in bed around 1 a.m. They thought an intruder was at the front door, so they came to the front as well as calling the police. According to witnesses and Kenneth, the police never announced themselves. Kenneth, who is a registered gun owner, gets his gun and goes towards the door, and police breach the door with a Battleland ram and bust it open. Kenneth shoots at the door, and police shoot blindly everywhere. Breonna and Kenneth never knew it was the police because they never identified themselves. They shot Breonna at least 8 times and killed her. Louisville police allegedly entered Breonna Taylor's home without identification and now are on administrative leave. Breonna was an EMT and had no criminal record. Kenneth Walker works for the post office and has no criminal record. In closing, Kenneth was arrested for attempted murder, and reports from May 22nd state that the prosecutor dropped the charges against Kenneth Walker due to not enough evidence. Not too long ago, Beyonce Knowles Carter written an open letter statement to the district attorney asking and pleading about Breonna Taylor's case. Why hasn't there been any arrest? It's been going on 3 months.
Beyonce was right on point. I mean, I think how she came in and voiced her concerns regarding Breonna was dope. I mean, it was like, she's there for her sister.
I agree.
You know?
And I think that we have to stop bringing each other down for everything we can think of to bring a person down. I think that I've seen online, because I like to get a lot of information from a lot of sources as much as I can. And I'm just speaking on my personal opinion. I feel that people have to stop talking so much when it involves another person trying to contribute to a cause. And with Beyonce, for example, she's not a politician. She's not a lawyer. She's not a judge or the president. She's doing what she could do from the leverage that she has as an entertainer. And if you ask me, that's enough right there. Because there are a lot of celebrities who have not said anything at all up until this case, have remained silent. And her being an A-list celebrity, whether people want to admit it or not, she can still jeopardize her career by even speaking up about this case. There have been people who have been killed being activists, talking about Black Lives Matter, injustice, and things of that nature. So I think we just have to shorten the load that we put on others that are in the entertainment industry. I'm not saying that they shouldn't speak up, but I'm just saying give her the props that she has when it comes to at least doing what she's done so far.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. Like I said, she is so on point for that. I would like to see a lot of sisters come to her aid as well. Right. I would like them to stand with Beyonce. I would like them to stand with Breonna.
Exactly.
And voice their concerns. And, you know, it shows you what kind of person Beyonce is. When something like, I mean, that is a perfect way. I mean, and I think everybody should read that letter as well. I think that it was to the DOJ of Kentucky, right?
Right.
I think he needs to read that. I think he needs to, you know, because there's been a lot of protest out there, man. And now they did, I understand that they just passed something called Breonna's Law.
Yes.
And where the police can't choke a civilian arresting them.
It's a no-knock warrant.
Oh, it's a no-knock warrant.
Yes, you have to have a knock warrant in order to enter a home. If you don't have it, you can't disrupt that home. Right.
And it makes sense. It makes sense. But I still think even though Breonna's Law is real, it's legitimate, and you know, every part of it is great. But I feel like that state can do more. You know what I mean? Because look how reckless that was. How did they not even have a law? How did they, just...
How did they go to the wrong house?
That too. There's more stuff that needs to be done.
How do you not announce yourself? Why would you just go in shooting? Why are cops so scared? You already know what your job consists of. You know what you have to do. So for you to say you feared for your life is not enough for us anymore. We're tired of hearing that excuse. You're the ones with the guns.
Right.
So if you feel like somebody may be threatening your life, you need to go back and get trained. Because since you did what you did, you killed somebody who was innocent.
Yeah, and not only that, they sent somebody who was innocent to jail too.
To jail, exactly.
Now, here's a successful, he got a job. He's working for the post office.
Yes.
He's making something out of his life.
Exactly.
And you're going to send him to jail. Now, I hope that he has a good lawyer.
He's gotten out.
And he's gotten out. I hope he has a good lawyer so he could sue the hell out of the state.
Exactly.
You know, and he deserves every bit of the money that he gets from the state, because he could be traumatized from going into jail like that.
I was just about to say, do you know how much trauma that causes a person? Look at Khalif's case. When he got sentenced to Rikers Island for supposedly stealing a book bag that he never stole, and he gets out and hangs himself. We have to learn from our mistakes, but you don't have to learn from yours.
Right.
We're tired of asking.
Right.
Is what I'm saying.
Right.
I think America sits on a very insane tradition.
Right.
There's been too many decades that people like me have been marching, asking for help. I was watching a video with Huey P. Newton doing a talk show, and that was in the 1980s, talking about what we're talking about now. I think that we live in an insane asylum, and people don't want to admit that, but I will. And insane is when you try to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
I mean, look how long, ever since, let's go, we could go all the way back. But for those of us that only have, remember certain things, let's go back to Martin Luther King. How many years ago was that? Malcolm X.
The civil rights. I was like, 1950.
Yeah. So up until now, look how many years that is that we've been talking about the same thing.
And that's why in the beginning of this show of Early Talk, I talked about the ones who wanted to go against the police. I'm not for violence, but I feel that that's the only way some people who have power understand that particular language. You want us to be peaceful. Colin Kaepernick did that. You shunned him. He's blackballed. Then you see people running over cops, which I've seen. Now you're scared. Now you want to get bold. What else language do you want us to speak?
You ever heard of a saying, when it rains, it pours? Why is it when the rent's due, all of a sudden you got car problems? Well, here's a comfort to your ears. Bring your car down to 136 Railroad Street, Huntington Station, New York. Scott's Automotive. Scott's Automotive, where you get a great service from the best mechanics in town. Need a wheel alignment? Scott's Auto. Need a tune-up? Scott's Auto. Even complications like transmission replacement? Scott's Auto. For more information, dial 631-673-3915. That's 631-673-3915. Scott's Automotive, 136 Railroad Street, Huntington Station, New York.
Describe it or
like
it.
Let me stop. Yeah, we was ready to go.
Nah.
I'm not going to be a host that sits up here and be politically correct. That's not me. I'm going to say how it is. And there has to be changes on your end. Now, when I say your end, I'm talking about the crooked cops, the ones who think that they can use their power to kill innocent people. There needs to be change on your end, because we've done everything from A to Z to try to get changes on our end.
Look at the case with Rashard Brooks. You know, he just the last one that they shot in the back when he was running away.
When he was asleep at Wendy's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
and it's
that.
like, yo, look, like people were saying, you had the man's car. Where was he gonna go on foot that you couldn't find him? Whatever happened to call him for backup? There was many different options that they could have took, but the problem is they don't place value on black people's lives.
You go to the very beginning of that video, right? He was doing everything that those cops asked. He did a drug test. He did that walk that they asked to see if you're stumbling. And he told the truth of why he was in his vehicle sleeping. After all of that, from my knowledge, he was detained for an hour because you guys wanted to ask him all those questions. You still decided to arrest him. What kind of frustration did you expect that man to have after an hour?
You know, I love the mayor of that city. She acted so swift.
She was very swift with that, and I'm very proud of her. And just like I mentioned with Beyonce, she's doing what she can. I'm not going to defend her completely because I don't know her whole history as a mayor, but I will say that particular action that she took when it came to those cops, we have to give her credit for that.
Man, she was up there within hours.
Right, and she fired them. She didn't put them on administrative leave. She fired them. So let's give her the hurrah for that so that she can see that's the type of moves we want her to make.
And the police chief, yeah, like you were saying, the police chief, I mean, that's a high person to get out of their job. I mean, she resigned, but, you know, we all know she had to resign, you know what I mean? That was a very, very high position, you know? You know, again, when you're making that kind of money, you know, I think, you know, you owe something to the people as well. You know what I mean?
Ahmaud Arbery has been making waves nationwide. On February 23rd in Bushwick, Georgia, former policeman who was also formerly worked for the district attorney office for the last 2 decades, Gregory McMichaels and son Travis McMichaels approached and killed Ahmaud Arbery. According to documents obtained by the New York Times, prosecutor George Barnhill, who eventually recused himself, had the case for a few weeks, told the police the pursuers had intended to defend themselves, and they acted as self-defense. By the way, his son had worked alongside the murderer, Gregory McMichael. After 3 months of no arrest, Travis and Gregory McMichael were arrested for the felony murder of Ahmaud Arbery. As of May 20th, the man recorded William Rhodey Bryan had now been arrested, which he should have been because he's an accomplice and he's aiding and abetting on this lynching that happened to Ahmaud Arbery. So now we're just waiting to hear the results from the trial.
Hey yo, check it out everybody, this is Blake Caesar INC. And yo, I'm back. And I got the new. Go stream my new music. Go stream the joint. It's called Like That by Blake Caesar INC. Peace and love to everybody, man. Apple Music, y'all know what it is. Go stream that right now. Peace. 1.
So special.
3 black men found hanging spark calls for lynching investigations. In cases in California, Houston, and New York, police have ruled each incident a suicide. Calls for investigations grow as 2 new hangings of men of color surfaced June the 16th, 2020. 2 men's suspicious incidences have come to public attention in the wake of the hanging deaths of 2 black men in California and are sparking calls for a thorough investigation. In New York City, Bronx resident Dominique Alexander, 27, was found dead near the Hudson River in Upper Manhattan by a passerby on June 9th, according to a spokesman from the city medical examiner. Many of social media had compared his death to that of Robert Fuller's and Malcolm Hirsch's. The 2 black men found hanging 50 miles apart in California on June 12th and May 31st, respectively. If, like me, you've been following these cases, the hangings, the blatant murders with Ahmaud Arbery, and even going back decades, a couple of years ago, Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin, it makes you numb. You have to have some type of mind frame to be able to handle all of this and still continue your regular lives. I believe that I can only just pray for the families of these victims. The only way to make it through to the next day is bury some of those emotions. We're never or have ever been treated with the same equality as our counterparts in America. And if you've been following these cases and you say that you are okay, you're really not. Because this isn't normal. No,
not at all. We're not going. This is not normal times. I mean, we got a crazy dude as president. You know.
The same man, by the way, put out an ad for 5 innocent young boys who were convicted of raping a woman in Central Park is now our president. That lets you look in the mirror and reflect on what kind of country we live in.
Yo, there is so much to be said, and it's never gonna be enough. You know what I mean? Like, we have to get more into detail. Like, you know, I appreciate the mainstream media, but sometimes I think they talk way too gentle for what's going on here.
Exactly.
You know, this is we have to have a hard conversation, serious conversation. And you know what? That conversation is going to make a lot of people uncomfortable.
Exactly.
But it's supposed to, because we're all in an uncomfortable space right now.
This is literally life and death. This isn't a metaphor anymore. People are dying that are innocent. There was a woman who got shot at a traffic light not too long ago. She had just finished high school. And they say it was somebody who was of color, white. He shot her, and now she's dead. She can't live her adult years anymore over hate. This is not nothing to be swept under the rug and kumbayaing it out.
Also, on a federal level, I think that, you know, the government's got to do more. This thing could get out of control if the government does not step up. And the government's been missing in action. They've been missing in action for the last 4 years. And they are, if history is, we have history. And like you said, if you keep repeating what you're doing in history over and over again, something's wrong. History teaches what not to do. The federal government has to step up. They have to solve these cases. And they got to show people that justice is real. That if you do something wrong, it's not just that if you do something wrong and you're black, you go to jail. But if you do something wrong, period, you go to jail. And that should be for everybody.
I need people to understand that, too, on Early Talk. Me and C's are not black supremacists. We don't believe in trying to make one particular race bad and then one particular race good. Or just bringing you information that has been happening, that's been factual in America in the past couple of days. We're not talking about something that's happened in the 1800s. This has been happening the past couple of days. Yesterday, to be more specific. And we just want people who haven't been following this or who just don't care to understand that this is real and there is injustice going on in the African community in America. There's been cases that have they not been recorded, people have been getting off or would have been getting off due to that. So there has to be justice for everybody. And it seems like there's been a dark shadow when it comes to the Black community. We'll be right back after these messages.
You don't want to make breakfast? You want to catch a couple more Z's before work? Stop by 150 West Pulaski Road, where breakfast is more like an event. Order what you want for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Peep the fast food taste of home sweet home. For more information, dial 631-424-5878. One Stop Deli and Gyro. One love when you get there.
Hey everybody, this is Rizzo Denise. Be sure to go on to Amazon.com and get your copy of Wrath of a Scorn Pass. See you there. Our final topic is the Supreme Court says gay transgender workers protected now by federal law forbidding discrimination. The Supreme Court ruled June 15, 2020, that a landmark federal civil rights law from the 1960s protect gay and transgender workers and water shield ruling for the LGBTQ rights written by one of the court's most conservative justices. Justice N. M. Gorsuch and Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. joined the court's liberals in the 6-3 ruling. They said in Title 7 of Civil Rights Act of 1964, which prohibits discrimination because of sex, includes gay and transgender employees. The decision was a surpass and not the only one of the day. Even though the court's conservative majority has been strengthened, it announced Monday that it was turned down a batch of challenges from gun rights groups eager to expand Second Amendment rights, and it rejected the Trump administration's request to review California's attempts to provide sanctuary to undocumented immigrants.
Wow, that was big for the trans community, for the gay community. That was a real big ruling right there. Believe it or not, there was nothing on the books federally.
Really?
That said that they couldn't, discriminate. So they had to make that plain, and the Supreme Court did yesterday.
I think that's great that they're being protected. I think that every minority needs to have some law where they are protected, because from what I've noticed just in the past, if you look at, for instance, we've been talking a lot on this episode about the Black community. We've been victimized for decades, and there hasn't for a long time until the civil rights were passed in the 60s, the late 50s, to protect us. So I feel that the LGBTQ community deserves that right as well. You can't hate off of anybody for the decisions they want to make in their life, period. And they should not be consequential to death because of how they want to live their life. So I think that that is very good. I think that's a great move that they are now protected against discrimination. It's
a human move. I mean,
exactly.
You can't have.
It is a human move.
You can't have a minority set of people being discriminated against, and people just being able to do or say whatever they want to these people.
Right.
That's not even the way. We can't have that in this country. Mm-hmm. We all have to be civil We have to live together. We have to move in unity.
We have to coexist.
That's right.
You have to respect a person, no matter the race, the sex, all that stuff you check off when you get your license. You got to respect that person and that right. Their race, their sex, their religious background, their age, all of that. You can't. Why would you want to kill somebody just because they live their life different? That's when you need to be checked from some type of illness, to want to get that angry in a person, to want to kill someone else just because they believe something different and they're not bothering you. So I'm really happy for the community. I'm hoping that there's more laws passed for them, as well as the heterosexual black community, because there's still a lot of black straight men being targeted. There's a lot of black straight women being targeted. So I just pray and I really hope that there is more light shined upon the black lives. And that concludes our episode today. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Rizzo Denise, and I wish you a great day. Stay safe. Stay in groups from now on out when you go out late. Put your pride down as well as your ego, and understand that we are at a time in our lives right now where there is a lot of hate going on based on how we may look. So just be careful when you go out there in public when it gets dark, as well as the daytime. I'll see you later.